The first step of this project, as per usual, is to cut everything to length at the miter saw. If you don't have a miter saw, you can use a jigsaw for this. Maybe just get a framing square or a speed square like this and rest your jigsaw up against your straight line. If you don't have a jigsaw, you can use a circular saw. You can use a hand saw with a miter box. There's many different options that you can use to cut these pieces to length. After the boards are cut to length, we do need to cut one of these boards down to 1.5 inches thick or wide. I'm going to use a table saw for this, but if you don't have a table saw, again, this can be done with a jigsaw. Just clamp it on the side or on the edge of your bench and run your jigsaw blade like that so that your jigsaw blade has somewhere to cut without bumping into and damaging your workbench. Okay, so we now have all of our pieces cut to length as well as to width for the shorter pieces. These pieces that we did not have to rip to width are standard 1x4, so they're 3.5 inches wide. You can sit everything aside except for the long pieces. We're gonna put those together just like this, make sure they fit tightly with no gaps in the middle. If there is a gap, it could be because your board is bowed or twisted in some way and maybe worth looking at getting a different part of the board or maybe even another board altogether. But we're now going to lay out for the heart in the middle, and this is a 1/2 of a heart template that I have made. You can get the PDF version of this on my website, RockyRiverWoodworks.com. You print it out and you can spray adhesive on that piece of paper after you cut it out and lay the paper on here. But since I have a physical template, I'm just going to use that. So again, this is just a 1/2 of a heart. So we want to line it up with the center line, trace it out on one side, 1/2 of the heart. And then we're going to flip it over and make sure it's lined up with the first line that we just made. Line it up on the second piece and trace that out. Okay, the pencil lines may be hard to see on camera, but the heart is traced out and we need to cut that out. I'm going to be using the bandsaw to do this, but again, this is perfect for a jigsaw to do, especially getting around those curves and radiuses. So you will notice on my pieces that there's still some line remaining. They're not cut out perfect. You see how it's jagged up there. That's okay. As long as you don't cut past your line, we're now going to sand that to get it completely perfect to the line. And in order to sand that perfect to the line, I'm going to use this spindle sander, belt sander. If you have a spindle sander, that'd be a great thing to use on this. If you do not, they make a drum sander, or I'm sorry, a spindle sander attachment that can go on a regular drill. If you don't have that, this can easily be done by hand. It's just pine, so it's relatively soft, which means it sands fairly quick. So even if you have to do this by hand, you're not going to be spending hours and hours sanding. The other method, if you wanted to do it by hand, is to just use some sort of wooden dowel rod or something round, wrap some sandpaper around it, and just go back and forth. You could do this with a file. There's many ways that you can get this sanded exactly smooth to the line. Now that everything is sanded completely smooth, the heart should go together and make, or the two pieces should go together and make a beautiful, sweet, precious heart. Okay, precious. Now we're ready to assemble this bad boy. Whatever side is the good side of the wood, put that face down. Now what we're gonna do is take one of our narrow pieces here, and we're gonna, that should fit perfectly on the back here. And in order to do this assembly, we're gonna need some wood glue and then some sort of fastener. And I've talked about this before. You can use brad nails, which is what I'm going to use because again, it's the rustic style. If you don't want to see the nail heads, you can just use glue and clamp it in place. You could also use some sort of screw from the backside so you don't see the screw. Or lastly, you can just use some hand nails. You don't have to have a fancy trim nail gun, but I have one, so I'm gonna use it. So we're gonna apply some wood glue here on the back of this piece and get it slid up here, squared up on all ends, and tack nail it in place. We're gonna flip it around this way, do the exact same thing with another one of our small pieces on the bottom. Now everything should be held together pretty well. So the front face and the back is complete just like that. Now we're going to work on installing the front shelf. And the way that we're going to do that is actually using one of these smaller, skinnier pieces first. And you're going to install it, ensuring that it is square and, you know, in line on the front, level on the front. So the way I like to do that is to use our shelf piece, hold it in place on the bottom. As long as your pieces are square, then you know that you know, you can use this as a guide to make sure your small piece is square. So we're going to install some glue here on the back of this small piece. Hold our shelf piece in place, not gluing it yet. We're just holding it in place. And then we're going to tack this in. Now we can install some glue just along the edge of our shelf piece and then along the back of our shelf piece and then put it in place. The way I like to nail this is putting a few in from the front here. I guess it'd really be the top of the shelf. And then you can also reinforce it by putting some through the back. This decorative shelf technically is now complete. However, it's at this point where you can kind of decide what you want to do with it. You can sand it and stain it. You can sand it and paint it. You can install it just like this. If you want a natural wood look, you can just put clear coat over top of it, whatever you want to do. And you can go as extravagant as you'd like. If you'd like to add roundovers, you can certainly do that. If you wanted to sand, instead of the square edges, you could sand them more round and soften those edges. Completely up to you. I'm going to give it a quick scuff sanding, and then I'm actually going to burn the wood, char the wood, because I think it has a nice appearance. Now we're going to light this baby up. Actually, before we do that, let's just clarify something. Be very careful about this when you're doing it inside. If you lightly go and pay attention, it should just kind of char the wood and give it more of an appearance. But it is wood and you're taking flame to it. So be very careful, go quick, pay attention. Do not set your whole shop on fire. Quick disclaimer. Burning wood is so kind of primitive, in my opinion, and traditional, and maybe even a little bit cliche, but regardless of all that, I still think it looks awesome. It kind of highlights the contrast between the wood grain, where you can kind of see the dark and light shades of the wood. And again, I just think it looks cool. There's everything charred and burnt, so to speak. And again, I think it looks cool. This is ready to go. You could take it one step further. Again, you could stain this now that it is charred to give it that extra layer of aesthetics. You could put a clear coat of lacquer on it now that it's charred, which is what I would probably recommend. For the sake of this video though, I'm just gonna leave it like that because it looks good. Last thing we're gonna do, and this is optional, but certainly recommended, is to install some sort of hanging mechanism on the back. The way that we built this, the reason that bottom piece is there, it works, is it serves two purposes. It's to hold these two pieces together, but it's also to keep it hanging off the wall as the same distance as where it's hanging from. So if that piece was not there, if it was up against a wall, instead of hanging straight, if that piece wasn't there, it'd be hanging kind of crooked like that, and whatever's on your shelf could potentially fall off. Since that is the same thickness as this, it will stay straight 90 degrees up against the wall. So in order to install this hanger, I'm going to use one of these sawtooth hangers. You can get these on Amazon, but I'm just going to install it here on the back, and this project will be complete. So here is the final product, a quick and easy project that is super cheap to make. Really, if you have the drills and the kind of basic tools around your shop, the only thing you need material-wise is a sawtooth hanger, some wood glue, some brad nails, and maybe an 8-foot stick of white pine lumber that you can get at your big box store. In my opinion, this could sell for maybe $30 at a handmade event. If you wanted to customize it even more, you could get into engravings, you could get into different colors, you can get into different designs. But for the sake of this video, I think this is a sellable product that people would be interested in. And it can go on the wall, and you can put a maybe a small trophy. You can put a little succulent. You could put a picture on it, something small, just an accent, maybe over a commode or a toilet, whatever. The possibilities are literally endless. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to get the plans and the heart template off my website at rockyriverwoodworks.com. Hit the like button down below, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Until next time, take care.